Hello, babies, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day and that this season you feel truly empowered and so full of who you are before the human experience at a soul level, okay? And then also just who you are as a person and what it is that you are creating in this life and how you want to exist, okay? Not me breaking it down, okay? At a cellular level. I hope y'all feeling loved and cared for, okay? But today I want to talk about reclaiming and remembering your power within source embodiment. From source embodiment, okay? Because, well, let me describe source embodiment, because it is the deepest key for who you are as a soul and what you can anchor yourself to along this human experience and the many different roles that you want to take on here as part of how you live your life, okay? Like any type of dreams and, inclinations towards things that will bring you true fulfillment. That's what, I want you to be able to connect to, okay? But from a place of knowing who you are and then being able to lean into all the different ventures that are a part of what you get to create here, right? That's like always my goal, right? Okay. That being said, super, super serious. Source embodiment is going to be you as a creator, knowing that you have the power, the capability here as an abundant gift from God to manifest consciously, bringing in whatever from the spiritual that you've envisioned here in the physical, and that you are also eternal. And I really want to emphasize that because we have deferred our power to different things out in the world as part of outsourcing our power and externalizing our power, when we truly get to create what is here like God, as God. And the eternality part of it is because source is infinite and so is your soul. And that's why we have here in creation the infinity symbol, for example, right? The infinity symbol is a marking that shows a remembrance, a soul remembrance of just how eternal we are. Endless, boundless, limitless, okay? The importance of that is because I want us to normalize with awareness, trusting ourselves as trusting God. Because we have a lot of ancient wisdom within us from previous incarnations. So when we make decisions from a place of awareness and doing the healing, then intuitively, we have all that we need to collectively and individually create in this life. And what comes to me, because it's like what I have a heart towards, is like creatives who they are unaware that they are a creator and that they are eternal. They succumb to certain aspects of, what other people are expecting of them, or where outside pressure forces them into, losing a sense of themselves. And, my spiritual journey has been very complex and also extremely with an extreme amount of depth. And so I know what low lows are and I know what high highs are. And it's just so important because when we know that along our spiritual journey, using self-trust is a part of our spiritual sovereignty, then we creatives, as a collective, will not be susceptible to outside influence and, aspects of escapism or, addictive tendencies as part of making up for where we feel inadequate or a lack or these expectations that we feel we need to reach. And so because we create our reality and we are eternal, we get the privilege to steward our own karmic will. And so when we talk about responsibility for our own personal karma, it's this matter of not only accountability, which is what we like to focus on a lot. I did this cause and now, I'll receive this effect. And typically we look at it from a place of consequence. But it also comes with a level of authority, meaning that you get to make the decisions that you feel within you are right in that moment, are right for your life, are right for what you want to put out that you're going to receive back. Okay? And that's very valuable because I talked before in my videos about, they're not necessarily having to always be an altercation or violence. And, a lot of us who have done the healing focus on a lot of love and light. And also, there are lots of times where we have to integrate human mastery, what we've learned on this journey for adapting and for setting the tone of what we no longer will tolerate energetically or physically in our reality and in accordance to our own inner compass and what we believe in. And so I'm saying all of that because standing up for ourselves is how we can steward our karmic will, where we're saying energetically and physically what it is we no longer want to tolerate. And we like to get caught up in morality from society and culture, but there are a lot of times where there's immediate danger or disrespect or bullying. And energetically, as part of our mastery experience here, we're going to be presented those things. And what I want to emphasize is how you feel you need to respond or react, even if in that moment it is violent or outside of what may be deemed a good person. Because you have built a foundation where you are within source embodiment, then do know that it is within your karmic authority to handle that situation how you feel necessary. I say this not to encourage unnecessary violence, but part of our journey here is going to be about understanding that source embodiment is bestowed. I wish I could have said a more grounded word at this time, but it's bestowed to, everyone here in creation. And it is within karmic accountability and authority of how it is that, you utilize that and stand within that. And so a lot of empaths and those who, have experienced, as I mentioned before, for example, disowned traits from the ego being pushed into the shadow, whether that's assertiveness or competition or, anger or all of these different elements of what we might feel are too dark or too much, or where you were told, you could not embody those fully. This is where we want to reorganize power and reclaim it within ourselves to make those decisions from a place of awareness and also from a place of source embodiment. Meaning, standing up for yourself, we can perceive it as how you tell the world to treat you from a place of spiritual authority. Because when we look at source embodiment from a place of source being infinite, limitless, expansive, boundless, eternal, then you are going to be putting limitations on yourself and allowing other people to put limitations on you, where actually you're being called to trust your frequency and embody empowerment as a form of source embodiment. And that's because, of course, we're here to anchor love, and also because this place is a place of human mastery. There are certain experiences and interactions with others who are on their journey of individuality, of differentiation, where you have to learn what contrast looks like, such as the bullying or emotional manipulation or deceit looks like, so that you are empowered to resolve that at higher levels of authority. Because, people say like new levels, new devils, but at these higher levels, you'll be challenged within source embodiment. And that's literally because we come here to have an experience of what it's like to create like God. So, of course, that would mean, how are you stepping into and holding that godlike power when interacting with people and experiencing different situations that would challenge that, okay? Because it's not just about creating your life with love. It's also about preserving what that looks like, preserving your energy, and saying to the universe you want to attract more of, and how you're telling people to treat you within a place of attraction. And so where we're forgetting this source embodiment is so very key, because this is where the karmic cycles happen. We forget that we're source, and we forget that we can embody that. And so, for example, I've talked consistently about soul checkpoints and negative experiences. And through those is where we're most challenged, because what will happen is we navigate these different things that actually we were designed to clear. We have done it in previous incarnations, but we will go through them and from a place of unawareness, continue to create, karmic issues because we feel like we're not enough after, those negative experiences, or we'll develop fear-led responses. Like I talked about learned behaviors and feelings. And those will make us a shell of a person or a diluted version of ourselves because we've now found ways to identify ourselves with those situations and those interactions. And sometimes it's subconscious. So this is where the healing has to happen. So we return back to that source embodiment. And it's really a complex journey to navigate. But when we manage and integrate aspects of our shadow and our ego, understanding that it's not the traits themselves, but more of our intention and how we steward our karmic will that matters, then we are freed of fitting into a smaller box of who we truly are as an eternal soul and as a creator. Also, we are not impacted by lower conscious beings who are not the vessel and the incarnated ones that get to experience creating once we become aware that it is a karmic journey, that there is cause and effect, and that we do have both accountability but also authority to create our lives, where we manage the karmic balance of the positive karma we create and the negative karma that we create. And this is super important because when we have an idea of where we're challenged in this experience, we're able to pull back our power, pull back our inner knowing. That's what I mean by power, pull back our creative power, knowing that we're an infinite being and not defined by these different things, and also catching where we've identified, with these different situations and interactions, all to integrate what we learn through the journey of who we are as a soul with different things we want to integrate from our human mastery, our own lived experiences, and returning back to that wholeness of who we are as a person and the source. And this is very valuable because when we navigate, different experiences here and interactions with people that are negative, then we're prone to forgetting what's available to us universally as unconditional love and free will, and where universal karma comes in to help us when we surrender control where we're just learning in this experience. And I say this because we outsource our power and defer our power when we don't know that God has given us the ability to manifest. God has given us the ability to come into remembrance that we are an eternal soul. You were right the first time about God's love. God created this human experience so that you could understand personally what it's like to reach different purpose sets. I think I mentioned roles earlier, but they're different purpose sets because they are what your soul wanted to experience here as a human at those different levels and in those different avenues. And you being a multidimensional being, only you can do those different purpose sets uniquely the way that you would do them. And rather than going through this learning experience, diminishing yourself or allowing others to diminish you by outdated belief systems, societal norms, and cultural standards versus what you come to find you are as a soul and your connection to source and how this universe truly works, we get to give ourselves the power of source embodiment so that as we're anchoring love from a soul mission perspective, we also continue taking with us and integrating with us how we trust ourselves to handle matters here from a place of love, but also from a place of source embodiment. Okay. Obviously, source is love. But when I say source embodiment, I mean being able to release guilt and burden and confusion when you make decisions that you've learned from this human experience that will help you preserve what you know as a soul and preserve who you are as source. And that is because it is a part of spiritual organization. And as we're going through this learning journey, so many things outside of you will make you forget that this place was designed out of love. And I'm highly connected at higher levels of consciousness. And, you know, even the highest level of beings, they want us to truly experience spiritual sovereignty, autonomy here, even through the negative experiences, because it's not about being perfect. It's about power and how we come to understand where true power comes from versus where we may be deceived out of that power through lower conscious beings when we're at low points and where we feel we may need to get it from things outside of us, you know, through excessive drugs, alcohol, other people that come in to confirm a false reality of our limitation, of our unworthiness and undeservingness. But those are all things that we pick up as attachments. We pick up as false identifiers to who we truly are. And what we want to remember is that God loves us and has our back. And so the universe wants to reflect that reality. So the quicker we're able to pick up where within and through healing from these negative experiences, what we're going to create or change here, the quicker we get to step back into who we are as source from true power, so that we realign our focus to what we want to consciously create and how we want to exist here for a higher conscious society. So what does that look like at the most grounded level as it relates to me speaking on, you know, the three different areas that I feel are where, you know, we are challenged the most? That looks like for ego and shadow, recognizing you are your light and your dark, and you can consciously acknowledge all of those traits. And then still, it is your intentions for how you carry out your karmic authority and accountability that truly defines who you are. And that puts you back in the driver's seat of who you get to define yourself as. And that redefining may happen in later age, and where fragmentation of that can happen can be as early as childhood. So you'll come into stages where you redefine that for yourself. And then when you do have different experiences where you are impacted and you have to navigate situations that bring you down and that are traumatic and that are painful, remembering that you are still unconditionally loved, but that there are lower conscious beings that live in that lower space. So you healing is to move you, as the master of your own soul you are, out of that frequency from those beings. And you're unconditionally loved to move through those experiences and still remember who you are from a place of source. Still know that you are worthy and deserving and can change at any moment from anything that you feel is karmic, negatively karmic. Where even through the belief structures where there's love, there's just still too much egoic standard and expectation that doesn't allow for a more expansive truth for operating here. And that as you are on this journey creating things and you make mistakes or have negative experiences, you are still an infinite being that gets to dictate how you want other people to treat you by where you use your karmic will to set energetic and physical boundaries, so that we never fall into an illusion or deception or letting lower fear-based beings convince us to take action where we haven't spiritually consented to unnecessary harm to someone else or ourselves. As this translates to how we might experience this in our daily, when the analytical mind within our ego starts to, create overthinking or conclusional thinking, like jumping to conclusions, summative thinking, you can remember that God loves me and God has my back. You focus on what you know the universe is already trying to reflect back to you as part of God's love for creating this experience in the first place. Okay. So just when that analytical mind pops in, honey, it's God loves me and God has my back. And keep moving forward on what it is that you feel you need to do as a steward of that karmic will. So when you feel a shift in your energy, and you're able to catch it from being in your joy, being in peace, to now being in anxiety or in that snowball into lower feelings or depression, you want to lock down your energetic force field with, a prayer or, I like to use Aaron Lyon's mantra for locking down my consciousness before bed, but it reads, Source, universal consciousness, and all that is. I now release all forms of fear and take back control of my spirit now. And I ascend all lower conscious beings, shadow beings. I ascend them to light. They do not have my conscious consent, and I now lock down my force field of energetic and spiritual protection. Thank you, and so it is. And I think that might be a little bit of a remix version, but we know what the intention is, and we've used the authority to command, lower density beings out of our field. Okay? And then when it comes to negative experiences that we have here, baby, when it comes to soul checkpoints that, are designed for our purpose, and, we develop these feelings and behaviors that we find are no longer what source embodiment is and being able to create here, then we'll want to remember all of the universal gifts of being a human or being a soul in this human experience, right? Universal free will, universal karma, unconditional love, right? And so you were right the first time about God's love, okay? Everything else is an illusion, an attempt at deception, or where we're needing to reconcile some things internally from perspective and attachments and adaptations so that we return back to that knowing, okay? Knowing that God loves us and we're supported, and the universe is truly wanting to reflect that back to us as we nurture, the different facets within ourselves. And so what does that mean? Get to living your life. I cannot. I love y'all so much, and I will see y'all in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Drop in the comments below what resonated most with you about being able to understand that as a soul and a human, you are the most powerful because you are source, and you get all the luxuries of being source in a human experience, creating through this karmic ass journey. Okay. I love y'all so much. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.